Hey, welcome back to another video. I'm going to be ranking every agent this time. I definitely didn't steal this video idea from anybody else. I don't know what you're talking about. Just kidding. I'm going to credit him in the description. But anyways, this is going to be purely off of a ranked standpoint, so I'm not really going to be taking into account professional play or anything like that. But this is for general ranked. So if an agent is very good in low elo and not too good in high elo, they'll probably average out around the middle. So let's just start. So we're gonna start out with Astra, and the main reason you pick Astra is because of the global utility. So obviously she has like the stuns and the sucks she can do across the map, which is good, and the smokes are slightly bigger. So I guess you could see her played on maps like Pearl, even though it's not in rotation. Pearl and Abyss, she's pretty good on because it's a really big map. But that's around it. The other thing is it's really hard to coordinate with your team, even in high elo. So unfortunately, for purely climbing off of ranked, I have to put her in D. But she is a solid agent if you know how to master her, and if in more coordinated settings she is better. But to solo queue ranked, she's gonna go D tier. Okay, so Breach, he's really good on the new map Abyss, and he's really good on Sunset and Haven that just came back. He is missing Fracture, but he still has those couple maps he's really good on. And if you're good at him, then you can still make him work on every other map except for like Icebox. But that aside, he does have insanely good flashes for low elo. In high elo, a lot of times players can turn them, but in low elo they're pretty good, and they're not going to be able to turn them 100% of the time, even in high elo, especially if you set your duelist up properly. He is the other thing he has a really powerful ult. You can take an entire site like that, so that makes him again more powerful in low elo because they're not going to be smart enough to play off the site. So that all being said, he still is a support agent and is not really great on his own. If you don't have a team to work with, that makes him very difficult to use. So while he is strong in theory, it is hard to coordinate value out of him. So he's going to go in B tier for this list. Okay, so Brim is a similar story. He's very simple. I don't know why I said similar. He's completely opposite. Brim is very simple. And the reason I like Brim is all of his util, you basically, since it's so simple, you won't be worrying about when you use your util. You can pretty much purely focus on your gunfights. You're not really going to get timing with any Brim util or anything. Very simple smokes. They last a long time, and he has 3 of them that he can use at once. The only problem is they don't regen. But the Molly does stall forever, and the Stim Beacon is really good for fast hits. So for ranked, he actually seems really good, especially if you know what you're doing. The only problem is he has limited range on those smokes, so they're not going to be as amazing as someone like Omen. But that's okay. He is still insanely good on Bind and Fracture, although it's not on the pool right now. But you can definitely make him work on the other maps if you're good at him or you're just filling smokes. So for that, we're going to give him the top of the B tier. He's probably easier to climb with than Breach. All right, so I'm going to try not to be biased here, but I'm going to put Chamber in the A tier for climbing and ranked. So now, purely as his value as a Sentinel comes with your aim. Like, if your aim is not good, then he's going to find no value. That's why he's not in the S tier. Cypher and Killjoy provide you value as a Sentinel regardless of your aim. They can stall like crazy whether you have god aim or not. Chamber, it completely relies on whether you're being unpredictable enough with your setups and you're good at hitting those one taps with the Headhunter, and you're good at getting that first blood with the op. If you can do that, then Chamber can totally hold down a site very well. Except the problem is it's not guaranteed. It's all reliant on aim. So that's why he goes in A tier. The other thing is he does have the Headhunter that can win you save rounds. So if your team can't buy anything, you manage to hit a couple nice shots with that, guns down, you can convert those anti-eco rounds or those rounds where you really can't afford anything. So, for that all being said, he goes A. All right, so Cypher's going to go S tier. So, ever since the buff they gave him, he's been completely ridiculous, especially on Sunset. Even though he got a small nerf, it did essentially nothing. The fact that the Trips rearm is stupid. His ultimate pings twice. The cam is insanely good. And the cages are basically just better Jett smokes. He has an insane amount of stall. The trips are like so hard to get through, especially on like Breeze, Sunset, Ascent. He has those unbreakable trips that you essentially need a Sova to break those, or a Raze. But he is so insane, especially if with the ult 2, if you can't really lurk, because if you lurk when Cypher has ult, oh, the jig is up. So insanely stupid character. He's been broken for as long as since they gave him that initial buff. So top of the S tier for Cypher, and he's very easy to coordinate in ranked. You don't really have to do much. If you're good at Cypher, you will climb. All right, so Deadlock is probably the worst Sentinel in the game. I know players that are really good with her can make her work, but still, you're definitely gonna get way more value out of Cypher and Killjoy. And if you're a good aimer, even Chamber. So Deadlock unfortunately goes D tier. Although the wall can be pretty good, the rest of the abilities are really not. The sensors are very predictable. They can be broken insanely easily. She can't actually watch the flank. The grab net is kind of it stalls a little bit, but it's not that amazing. And the ult, if you use it when there's multiple people around, they'll just break the guy out immediately. So D tier for Deadlock. All right, so Fade is kind of similar to Breach, but instead of supporting her team with flashes and stuns, in ways that they can kill the opponents, she reveals the opponents, and she also deafens them, so that can help too. The C's and the ultimate deafen people, and the ultimate and the recon and the prowlers, actually, they all reveal people. So she does have a lot of that intel, but not too much of that like stunning and damage dealing, which is okay. That can be really good, especially on maps like Lotus, where the dogs and the eye seem to find a lot of value. So Fade, we're gonna give Fade above Breach. And the other thing is she's a lot easier to play than Breach. You don't need to be as coordinated when you're throwing intel. You just need to have like a couple lineups, or you don't even need lineups, just a spot that you know will throw it. You throw it up there, and if they break it, or a spot that they probably won't break it, that will scan. So really good. All right, so Gekko, if you're really good at him, Gekko is going to be another A tier. So he has, now that Skye's been nerfed, he is the only one that has info flashes that also recharge. And in theory, if you're good at Gekko, you can get so many uses out of the flash and the wingman in one round. The other thing is the wingman being able to plant on offense is good. It counters Sova very easily, because a lot of times what Sovas will do is they'll save their ult and they will ult the planter, but if there's a wingman, it's kind of a waste. But the other thing is wingman being able to defuse the spike, for me, is just insanely stupid. I think that is so overpowered, and it's an insane ability, which is, for that reason alone, that's why you pick Gekko, I think. But he also has like one of the best ultimates in the game. For only 7 points, you can use it twice. It detains people. It's insanely good. It has so much HP, and it almost always finds a kill. It's ridiculous. So Gekko goes A. He's very easy to play. You have a little bit of coordination, but that's fine. If you know how to play Gekko well, you will climb A tier. All right, so Clove is one of the better controllers in the game right now, for ranked, of course, because she allows you to play very aggressive and still bring value to your team. So you can run in and die, and as long as your team ends up hitting that site, obviously she can smoke after death. So that makes Clove very good. That's probably the best part about her. The decay is also pretty good, because it can a lot of times get people pretty low, and then you can swing right off that or combine it with some other utility. The heal is also insanely good, because a lot of times you're going to be like, I don't know, maybe second one on site with Clove after your duelist. If they don't find a kill, you will, and if you're low, you can heal up. If another guy swings, you're full HP for the next fight. Very good. It finds a lot of value. You wouldn't think that, I think it only lasts like 8 seconds. You wouldn't think that it would find a ton of value, but it always does. Every time you heal with Clove, it will always find value most of the time, and it gives you that speed boost as well. The ult is okay. Having a second life is pretty good, but a lot of times people like run away from you or they kill you instantly, but that's still fine. The ult does find value sometimes, and it can win you rounds. So with all of that being said, A tier for Clove. Very good controller. She just obviously has the shortest lasting smokes. She has the same range restriction as Brim, and they don't last as long as Brim smokes. but that's all okay. She makes up for it in all the other ways. Okay, so Harbor is very difficult to coordinate in ranked, but if you are a good Harbor player, you can block out, like you can block off a ton of sight lines with Harbor if you are good with the wall. Also, the Cove can be really nice to stop planters and stop spam. There isn't really too much to say about Harbor because not a lot of people play him, but I think I am going to give him C tier because especially on like Abyss and Lotus, he is really good there. And the walls slow people that swing through them too. So, and the ult, I guess, the ult is really good too. It clears an entire site, gives you info, and can stun. So, alright, so C tier it is for Harbor. He's not the greatest, but he can definitely work. Okay, Jett, I'm going to give the S tier. So Jett can kind of do it all. She can entry for the team. She has another eco weapon like Chamber that she can buy her teammate a gun and go knives. If you're really good at the knives, they're even better than a Vandal. Sometimes against like high-elo players, they feel stupid because you can just straight up jump and one-tap someone. It's kind of insane if you are good with them. The other thing is she can op very, very well, and since Chamber, despite me putting him in A tier here, as a character, like with utility, he is not all that powerful. He's just good to climb with because you can play for yourself and your team very, very easily. So that's the only reason Chamber's up here. But Jett basically does the same thing that Chamber does, but she can do it on a character that also brings other value to her team, not just getting a pick and getting out. So that's why Jett goes S tier. She is a little bit difficult to play for newer players, but they can definitely still find value out of her, and the knives are just insanely broken if you can aim with them. S tier for Jett. Okay, so KO is another one of those characters where you kind of have to have coordination with your team, and in a ranked standpoint, that's almost non-existent. So I have to put KO C tier even lower than Harbor. Even though the knife and the ult are really, really good, the molly does not do that much damage, and they have to be standing near the center or else it will do like nothing. Also, the flashes, if you flash for yourself, they're very easy to turn and they don't last long at all. If you flash for your team, they're a lot better, but you either have to have lineups or you have to be really good at throwing them, and that's really difficult. You're not going to find too much of that coordination in ranked, so C tier for KO. Alright, Killjoy. Killjoy is going to be another S tier. So she's not as good as Cypher since the multiple nerfs she's gotten, but the ultimate is still insanely good, and the mollies for stall are just ridiculous. On defense, you can stall a ridiculous amount of time with 2 mollies, and on attack as well, you can throw them on the bomb and delay the tap for like, I think it's like, 6 seconds you can delay the tap, waste a lot of time. The other thing is, on offense and defense, the turret gets you so much passive info. You can throw your turret mid and then go lurk one site while your team's the other, and then if your turret doesn't shoot anything, then you know nobody's peeked mid or anything. It's just an insane amount of info having like the 2 trips, and one of them is not only a trip, but it like watches an entire area for you even after the nerf. It's so insane. So Killjoy gets an S tier. Alright, so Neon is one of those characters where it's very difficult to play her, but if you are really good and you master her, she can definitely find some value. The problem is that you have to sink a ton of hours into mastering Neon, but instead of that, I don't know why you wouldn't just master Jett or Raze instead, because if you do master those characters, they are going to bring more value than Neon ever will. So that's just unfortunate. That's just how she is. She can win you the save rounds with the ult, but again, high elo players are going to one-tap you every time because it's super easy to predict how the Neon will swing. They're always going to wide swing you. They swing right into your crosshair, easy one-tap. So unfortunately, I have to give Neon the C. She can be a stomper in low elo because that ult I know can be very, very terrifying in lower ranks. But the other things, the stun is pretty hard to hit. The wall does not bring too much value, and the best use of the sprint really is for faster rotates. So I don't know. C tier for Neon. She can't really entry the same way that Jett and Raze can. All right, so Omen is who I believe is the best controller in the game right now. So he has the double smokes like Clove can, except his reach so much further, and they last longer. So with that, you can play him much more easily on the bigger maps like Abyss. You can play Clove on Abyss, but Omen's going to be a lot better because he can smoke all the way from the other site pretty much. Clove can't. Clove and Brimstone can't really do that. And that is really, really good for a character that also has an insanely good blind, because Omen blind, you don't even really need that much coordination to use it. It's not a hard ability to use like some of these other characters like Breach and Astra. Omen blind, you kind of just chuck it in the line and make sure not to hit your team, and it flashes someone for like 3 whole seconds and they're deafened too. So it is really, really good. Plus having those TPs can let you play some aggressive angles. Like sometimes you can play an aggressive angle, you kill one, then you tuck behind the angle, and then you TP away. The other thing is a lot of people tend to underrate Omen's ult. Everyone says Omen's ult is one of the worst, but I heavily disagree. So if you're not really finding much value with it, on defense, the best way you could use it is to instant rotate to the other site, which is, I think that's pretty good, being able to instantly rotate. The other thing is on attack, you can use it to pick up the bomb and scout for info. The other play you can do, I guess, is you can teleport in the enemy spawn. And basically what that will do is that will force them off of the sites because everyone's going to go looking for you, and then your team can push up off of that. A lot of times you will die if you teleport in their spawn because you'll have a lot of them searching for you, but it can create a mass distraction. So with all of that being said, if you are good at Omen or you're just learning controller, Omen is probably going to be the best controller to climb within ranked. So S tier he goes. Okay, ISO is another S tier. After the buff that he got his shield instantly after using the ability, he's just extremely stupid. So essentially, you get an unfair gunfight with the shield, and if you kill someone, you get the orb and you get another unfair gunfight. And then if you kill someone, you get another unfair gunfight. And if you see where this is going, you can just completely run down the enemy team in low ranks and in high ranks. It's so dumb, and what makes it the worst is that the rest of his kit is terrible. His vulnerable is awful. It's really only good when combined with like Sova or Raze utility, and the wall is just straight up useless. The ult is only good because of the shield. If he doesn't have the shield, then the ult becomes a 50-50 and it becomes terrible. So S tier just because of the shield alone and how annoying it is. It counters these op one-tap playstyles that a lot of people like to have, including myself. Playing op all the time and playing Headhunter, you can't kill him because after the one shot you have to either TP away or stop peeking and they just push up. The other thing is that the shield, it lasts for 12 seconds. There's a lot of time to find a fight in that 12 seconds. It's just insanely annoying to play against, and in ranked, ISO is one of the best characters to just stomp the lobby with. It's so frustrating. Alright, so Phoenix. Phoenix is going to be A tier. His flashes, and he's only going to be A tier purely because of low ranks, and in low ranks, no one is going to be able to predict when he's going to flash. And in high ranks, even though the flashes are pretty predictable, you're not going to be able to turn them. If he does flash you or get the flash off and you're looking at that angle, you're barely going to be able to turn it unless your reaction time is ridiculous. Even me, I have decent reaction time. I cannot return the Phoenix flash. I can turn every other flash in the game, not Phoenix. It's way too quick. And also, the ult is insanely good. That's the other reason he's A tier. The ult... it only costs 6 points, and it's one of the best in the game. It is no risk, high reward. You can sometimes get 1 or 2 kills and the entire site for free just for using that ult. He's one of the best characters to farm ult orbs on. A lot of times your team can help you with that, especially on those like eco rounds and stuff. Don't even go for kills or don't even go for the win. Just farm 2 ult orbs. Maybe get the plant and die. That's 4 ult orbs right there. And then if you already had a couple, you have your ult for the next round. If you already had 1, then you take the ult orb next round and you have it. It's so OP. You can just chain ults like that. So A tier for Phoenix. Flash is good. Ult good. And also he can heal himself. So that's a +2. All right, next, Raze. Raze is going to go in the S tier. If you are good at Raze, then she will just stomp on everyone. Honestly, I'm going to move her above Jett. I think Raze is the best duelist in the game right now. Even after the many, many nerfs she's gotten, the grenade is so insane because she's the only duelist to have stopping power. Essentially, like a Sentinel has some stall, some stopping power. The grenade has that when you can't really think of any other duelist that has that. I mean, I guess Phoenix has his molly, but that doesn't last very long, and it doesn't do that much damage. The Raze grenade will kill them if they're anywhere near it. And it also does some ridiculous chip damage. The other thing is Raze can kind of do everything. She can entry with the satchels, she can fight extremely easily with the grenade, and the satchels can throw people off and make them in the air, like hit them in the air for 1 second, you swing them, their crosshair placement's off, one tap. Sometimes it just genuinely feels unfair. The other thing is the Roomba gets you very good info. No other duelist can get, other than maybe Yoru, can get info like Raze can. So Raze can basically do everything. S tier it is if you've mastered her. Okay, so Reyna is she's basically a duelist version of Chamber. Her value basically is all out of your aim and your mechanics. 2 of your abilities you can't even use until you get a kill, but once you get that kill, it does allow you to reposition or heal 50 HP for your next gunfight, which is really good, especially after the dismiss buff. You can play an insane off angles, kill one, and then dismiss away, kind of like Chamber, except you obviously have to get the kill with Reyna. But she does have the flash to make up for that. So that being said, Reyna is going to go, I'm going to put her mid A tier to climb within ranked. Reyna will definitely find a lot of value if you can aim. Just the problem is if you're having a bad aim day, you can't really be useful any other way. So A tier it is. Sage I'm going to put in B tier. I'm going to give her B solely because of low elo. She's insanely easy to play. If you hear feet on a site, you throw up your wall. They break your wall, you throw a slow. Very, very easy. Especially on other maps like Haven 2, you can just wall Garage at the start of every round, and then that's an angle you don't have to watch unless the attackers break it. Also, in low elo, a lot of times people will not one-tap you, and the fights will go on for longer before someone one-taps. So a lot of times, if your teammate will get a kill, he will get hit and not have one-tap the guy, which means the heal finds a lot more value, and since it recharges, that you can do that multiple fights. The other thing is in low elo, the res is probably a lot better because nobody really plans around it in low elo. In high elo, sometimes people are like, Sage has res, let's not leave here and let her res the body. But in low elo, not a lot of people think about that, and a lot of times you can just get free teammates back, especially if you farm alt orbs. So although she's really not the greatest sentinel, I still have to give her B for ranked. Definitely can work. In higher elo, not so much, but I would say at least up until like Diamond Descendant maybe, she can definitely get some value. It just slowly goes down as you go up the ranks. So Skye is going to be another A tier, but she's going to be the lowest A tier under all of these. But she still is, I still think she's definitely better than these ones. So Skye is A tier because she has very nice flashes that you can use for yourself or your team, unlike KO. You can still flash for yourself on Skye. She has a dog that gets a ton of info. It's basically like a Sova drone for closer ranged maps. On the longer range maps, you're going to want Sova. On the closer range maps like Bind and Lotus, the dog will find a ton of value. It also can stun people for your team, and she also has that heal like Sage, but it can heal your entire team, which is insane. And the other thing is that her heal, you only have to use as much as you need. With Sage, like if someone gets hit down to 70 HP, you have to use the entire heal, and it's gone until it recharges. Skye, if someone gets hit down to 70, you can just use 30 to heal them back up, and then you still have 70 left for the rest of the round. The other thing is the ult is really good. It provides a lot of pressure and insane information. So all that said, Skye goes lowest A tier. If you're good with her, you can definitely climb insanely well with her. Alright, so Sova is going to go the top of the B tier. So Sova is a character that I've played a lot. I've mastered him a lot. Probably he's the character I know the second most about other than Chamber. He's definitely my go-to second pick if Chamber gets taken. But Sova has a really good ult. Really good ult and recon. That's what is like the most of his value, is the recon is insane that you get it back every 40 seconds, and unlike a Fade Eye, you can throw it on the back of walls and it flies insanely fast. So even if people can shoot it sometimes, even though people will shoot it sometimes, a lot of times even in higher elo it will get scans off. And not only can it be used to get a ton of information, you can also use it to kill people. The other thing is the drone is insanely good on those longer range maps because it can clear close and also see if anybody's playing far and out in the open. You can also tag them and then ult them afterwards. The only thing that I think prevents Sova from getting moved up is, first of all, he doesn't have too much to help himself get kills, but he does provide himself information. He just doesn't have anything that, really gives him an advantage in the fights, unless you're pinging people through smokes and killing them, which you can do with Sova and Fade. It's just a lot easier with Sova, so I'm moving him higher. The only other thing is the shock darts are really not that good unless for like post plant, but more times than not, you're just gonna end up getting yourself killed when you pull out the shock darts if you're in like lower elo and you don't know when. So I would just not really use them too much if you're first picking him up. But yeah, he can definitely be used to climb very, very well. Okay, so Viper, as good as she is, like in pro play and whatnot, and as much value as she actually brings, she's only going to go in C tier. Because in ranked play, a lot of times play will be very chaotic and people will have weird and wacky comps with a million flashes, which that is how you counter the Viper wall and orb and stuff. You just flash through it, and in pro play, maybe they'll only be playing 2 flash characters. In ranked, you'll see a ton of flashes, and you will have people that disrespect your utility. Even though you will think that they disrespect your utility, it's easy to punish. Sometimes it's not, because you're not expecting the guy to wide swing you through a Viper wall. It catches you off guard and kills you. People in ranked will do that. As dumb as it is, it will work for them, and they rank up and continue to do those stupid things. Other thing is the ult gets countered. As good as it gets countered pretty easily by a Sova drone and Skye. So those 2 characters will counter the ult very easily. Same with the Gekko ult, except obviously you don't have that every round. But also, after the Viper nerf, she cannot stall nearly as effectively, and the lineups are not nearly as good. You can't go nearly as long with the lineups since it's only one molly, and the stall is just completely ruined. What made Viper so amazing is that she could provide you those lurk walls on attack and also stall like a sentinel, and that's basically been cut in half since she got the reduction to only 1 molly. But all of that being said, Viper is still a really solid character. She's just not amazing to climb with in ranked. But if you are good at playing controller, I would still pick her on Icebox, though. Definitely your best bet there. Alright, last but not least, we got Yoru. So Yoru is kind of like Neon, that you kind of have to master him to find value out of him. But here's the difference. The difference between Yoru and Neon is if you do master Yoru, you will get infinite value. A lot more than Jett and Raze. Because if you are an insanely good Yoru player, you're essentially a duelist and an initiator on one character. You can flash for yourself and TP in and make some crazy plays, crazy fake outs if you're smarter than your enemies and you can outbrain them. You also can gain information with your ult. It's basically a Sova drone on crack, and you have the clone you can send it out of smokes. A lot of times it will get shot and it turns towards where the person shoots it. So that gets you info as well. Other thing is you can maybe bait out some footsteps with some fake teleports and some flashes, and you can essentially create so much chaos to set up your team and yourself, which makes him insanely versatile because he helps himself and the team, something a lot of agents can't do. So whether you have a no-comm team, you can make Yoru work, and if you have a team that's helping you out and you're helping them, you can make him work. So him being 2 roles in one is really good. And then he also is on a very good op character. He can't play the aggressive angles like Jett and Chamber, but he can play in some weird and wacky one-and-done spots. He can peek, get his, tuck back into the corner, and then TP across the map, which that is another really insane thing about Yoru is when you see him TP and you don't hear it, he could be anywhere. He could be in your spawn, he could be in the enemy spawn, he could be on site, he could be the other site. So the unpredictability is always really good with Yoru, and if you do master him, then he will be insanely good, bring a ton of value. The only problem is he's the hardest character in the game by a long shot to master. But if you can do it, a ton of value. So in that case, I'm going to put him in A tier just purely because a lot of people will play him and not know what the hell they're doing. If you're below, if you're below Diamond, I would say don't even play him at all. he's not gonna be good below diamond. Because if you're not diamond or above, then I'm just gonna assume you're not smart enough to make those kinds of plays. You want to at least have a really good feel for the game and how the guns work and how to shoot properly before you start trying to outbrain your opponents and play 2 roles at once, because that's essentially what he does. He's essentially a duelist and an initiator into one, and you need to know how to play both roles. But anyway, with that being said, let me know where you guys disagree with this in the comments, and look forward to more videos just like this one. All right, peace.